Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, why does progress slow down the leaner you get? I had a similar question to this last week, and I'll answer this one similar, but I'll give it a different perspective. When your body fat starts to drop, for men in single digits, for women in the low double digits, so men 5 to 4% body fat, women 14 to 12% body fat, it becomes very uncomfortable, right? I mean, I can tell you this from competing in competitions over the years that the lower my body fat got, the less energy I had. The more susceptible I became for potential injuries in the gym. I had more joint pain, right? Why? Well, our body does need fat. And when you're reducing fat, if you're overweight, that's a good thing. But if you're at moderately healthy body fat levels, which for men I say is anywhere between 10 to 14%, and for women 18 to 22%, those are healthy. But when you start to take the body down lower, I don't want to say that it's unhealthy, but it's uncomfortable. And what happens is your body starts to conserve as much energy as it possibly can the leaner you get, because you don't have as many fat cells. You don't have as much energy from the fat that your body's holding on to help get you through the day, to help get you through the workout, right? To help you sleep and recover better. So it becomes very uncomfortable. You talk to anyone who's gone on a severe weight loss diet, getting ready for a bodybuilding competition, bikini competition, photo shoot, whatever it may be, they will tell you that as they get leaner, not only does it get harder to lose the weight, but it becomes almost unbearable to walk around and just to do daily activities. Um, and it's just because the body doesn't like being that lean for that long. And that's why I always tell people I work with, I'm like, I understand that you want to have very low body fat percentage, but hear me out when I say this. You have to make sure that you are doing it in the most healthiest way possible, but at the same time you want to pick a body fat level that you can easily maintain, that's not a struggle to maintain. Okay, because what you'll notice is as you do become leaner and leaner, you have to start cutting out more things, cutting out more calories, cutting out more carbohydrates, doing more cardio, right? So it's not a sustainable lifestyle, right? Now, if you're doing it, like I said, for a bodybuilding competition, sure. I mean, that's only going to be for what, 16, 12 weeks of prep, and then that's it. The show's done. You can go back to eating normally, being at normal body fat levels, okay? So this is why it becomes more challenging, because the leaner you get, the body starts to conserve more energy. So I don't want to go as far as say that the metabolism slows down, but the body itself starts to say, hey, we're not getting in as many calories, because if you're dieting, you're not taking as many calories in, right? So you're not utilizing as much energy. So therefore you have to conserve the energy that you are getting, right? So the visual effects become less and less, right? You take someone who's, I don't know, 40% body fat, you bring that person down to 30% body fat, you're going to see significant change in their physique, right? Because they were so overweight. Now you start bringing them down to 30, which is still overweight, but maybe bring them down to 20, and you really start to see the transition. And that's why I was talking last week about the importance of progress photos. So if you are on a weight loss plan, or if you're on a weight gaining plan, you're trying to build muscle, I recommend everyone to take progress photos. Okay, it's crucial in my opinion, because, and again, you don't have to post them online. Just have them for yourself so you can compare them not week to week, but every 2 or 3 weeks apart. Okay, so you can see how you look January 1st versus January 30th, so on. Okay, I'm going a little off topic there, but just to go back to that question, you have to be very careful when you are dieting, because you want to make sure that A, like I said, you're doing it in the healthiest way possible, but B is that you're able to do it in a way that's sustainable. Okay. So if you're doing 3 hours of cardio a day and you're eating under 1,000 calories a day, that is not sustainable. And you're setting yourself up for failure long term, but you're also going to have a lot of health ramifications caused from that. You're putting stress on your thyroid, you're putting stress on your kidneys, you're putting stress on your liver. not to mention your hormones. So these are things I don't recommend people do long term. Okay. So you want to put together a program that makes sense, that allows you to have a lot of energy while you're lowering your body fat. Okay. And if you do have to go to extreme levels in body fat percentage, as in like, like I said, 3 to 5% for men and 12 to 14% for women, just make sure that you're not staying at those levels for too long. Because in my opinion, that's detrimental for your health. All right. Okay. Nick, how do you know when you're under recovering versus under eating? Well, if your performance, sleep, and mood are declining despite your calories staying consistent, it's most likely not a food issue, right? But with that being said, if you are in a severe caloric deficit, well, then obviously, yeah, you need to bump up your calories. A good way that I always would tell with people is by the strength in the gym. So if I'm helping someone lose weight and they're losing weight consistently, let's say they're losing 2, 3 pounds a week, but their strength in the gym is declining. Um, my fear with that is that that person is losing muscle. So their body's going into what we call a catabolic state. And that could be because I had them on too little calories or I'm having them do too much cardio. So they're exerting too much energy and they're not consuming enough energy from the calories, kind of correlates with the last question. And we hit a plateau, right? And this happens quite often with people. So what I try to do with my clients is I try to make sure that I manipulate the macronutrients on a weekly basis so progress doesn't stall. And I find that works really well for both male and female clients. But again, you have to make sure that you are paying attention to the signs in the gym and the signs outside the gym. So what I mean by that, as I mentioned, the signs in the gym would be, okay, my strength is starting to decrease. Last week I could squat 315. This week I could barely squat 225. Now, is that a recovery issue or is that a caloric issue? So you have to go back. Okay, well, where are my calories at right now? If I am, a 200-pound man and I don't count calories, so I'm gonna count macronutrients, and my carbs are at 100 grams per day, but my fats are at 50 grams per day, and my protein's at 200 grams per day. In my opinion, that's not enough for that 200-pound man. That person needs more either fats, more carbs, potentially more protein. But it depends on the individual you're working with. It depends on where they're at with their nutritional plan. It depends how often they're training. It depends on their fitness level, their genetics, and so on. But it's important to be able to dissect your routine, dissect your nutritional plan, and also look at your recovery. Are you someone who stays up till 2 in the morning binge watching Netflix and then you wake up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. to go to work? In that case, I would say it's probably your recovery. You're not sleeping enough, right? Are you someone who only drinks maybe 1 cup of water a day and chugs coffee all day? In that case, it could be a hydration issue. So that's why it's important to, before you sound the alarm and go, oh, I'm under eating. No, it could actually be that you're not recovering properly. Recovering is half the battle. And I always tell clients active recovery is huge. You want to make sure that you're getting at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. You want to make sure that, in my opinion, you're drinking at least a minimum of 2 liters of water per day. And yes, you want to make sure that you are eating clean, whole foods, but you don't want to be in a severe caloric deficit because what's going to happen then is you're not going to sleep well, you're not going to recover well, you're not going to train well. So you want to make sure that you are eating correctly and you want to make sure that you're recovering correctly. All right. But in my experience, the best way to tell if you're under eating is if your strength starts to go down in the gym, because that's an indicator that you're losing muscle. All right. So your strength should not be going down when you're on a weight loss diet. Okay. Maybe if you're on the last week of a contest prep and your carbs are very low and you're starting to decrease your water intake, yeah, I can see your strength going down a little bit. But for the average person who's on a weight loss diet, no, your strength should not be going down as your weight goes down the scale. Okay. So if that's happening, it's most likely an issue with your diet. And in that case, what I'd recommend is work with a dietitian, nutritionist, coach that can help you program the diet that's going to work specifically for you. Because for all you know, you actually might work better as someone who responds to a lower carb, higher fat diet. Or you might be someone who works better on a lower fat, high carb diet, right? So it's troubleshooting with that individual, and working with an experienced coach can really help, fix any trial or error. You don't have to focus on, okay, what am I doing wrong? You don't have to keep going back and saying, okay, what should I do next? Work with someone who's trained, who has a trained eye, who has experience dealing with people who do hit plateaus with their weight loss goals or muscle building goals, and can kind of dissect your routine, your program, and then take you from point A to point B without too much bumps along the way. All right. Okay. Nick, is muscle soreness a good indicator of a productive workout? No. So here's the thing. Beginners will always be sore. Okay. I can take a beginner and give them what I deem as a fairly easy workout, and I can guarantee you they're going to be sore the next day. And I can guarantee you that they're going to be even sore the day after that. Due to DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, which usually takes about 48 hours to kick in. What happens though, as you become more experienced in the gym and you turn from a beginner to an intermediate, your body is going to naturally adapt to the training. Okay, your body's going to adapt to the planes and ranges of motion that you're doing. Your body's going to adapt to the weights that you're lifting. Even when you progressively increase the weight as you get more advanced of your training, your body is still going to adapt. It's going to become more efficient at recovering. Okay, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Your body is becoming more efficient at flushing out lactic acid and more efficient at producing synovial fluid. This is something we want. Okay. With certain muscle groups, though, you're going to notice that they're usually a little bit more sore than others. So, for example, legs. To this day, when I have a leg workout, the day after my legs are sore. The day after that, my legs are even more sore. And unfortunately for me, my job entails a lot of demonstrating how to squat, how to lunge, how to deadlift. So these are all exercises that require my legs. And unfortunately, so I have to do demonstrations day in, day out, even though my legs are sore. But it's not because my body's ability to flush out lactic acid is not as efficient in my legs. It's actually because I'm constantly on my legs. So my theory as to why the legs are always sore is because they never really get to rest. Like you do a big leg workout and you walk home, okay? You walk to work. You stand in the shower. You're constantly on your feet. Okay, so your legs never get to rest. When you do an arm workout, you're not walking around on your arms all day. Like, sure, you might grab something off the shelf or you might be carrying a bag of groceries, but you're not really utilizing your arms. You're not doing a concentric contraction on your bicep all day, but your quadriceps are contracting when you walk. Your hamstrings and glutes are contracting when you squat. People squat naturally all day. They bend over to pick something up, right? So you're utilizing your legs all day. So that's my theory as to why the legs are always sore. But you'll find that the more advanced you become with your training, the less sore you're going to be. So don't kid yourself and think, oh, wow, that was a great workout because I'm really sore. No, if you're a beginner, you're always going to be sore. And if you're a beginner and you're not sore, you're not training correctly. All right, I'll tell you that right now. Because you should be sore, and I mean a good sore. You should be able to distinguish between good pain versus bad pain. Good pain is like you move your back, you retract your shoulders, like, oh wow, yeah, I can feel my lats. I did a back workout yesterday. Bad pain is I move my shoulders back, oh my God, my neck hurts or my lower back is in pain. I can't move. Bad pain. All right. So you have to be able to distinguish between the good pain versus the bad pain. But soreness is not an indicator of how intense you worked out. Okay. It's not, unless you're a beginner. Okay. In that case, you should be sore. All right. Okay. Nick, how often should you change your training program? You should change your program only when progress stalls, not when you get bored. And I talked about this a few weeks ago on my reality coaching segment, which is a new episode that we just added to the YouTube channel, a new series, I should say. And I talked about how a lot of trainers are guilty of this, of trying to constantly entertain their clients with these new and cool exercises. I'm like, that's great that you want to keep things fresh and interesting, but I've always been someone who says, you know what? I want to make sure that the person I'm working gets results. I don't care if the workouts are entertaining. I don't care if they're repetitive. I want to make sure that person gets results. And the only way I know how to help this person get results is if we do the stuff that they probably don't want to do, or probably not going to hit an Instagram reel, right? I mean, everyone's seen a bench press before. Everyone's seen a barbell squat before. Everyone's seen a walking lunge before. They're not clickbait, but they work. All right. So I always stick to the bread and butter exercises that I know are going to work. And then I add in and I customize the program based on the individual with isolation movements. I mean, some people I might give them, let's say some people I might give a seated cable row. Other people I might give a bent over T-bar row. Some people I might give a pronated lat pull down. Other people I might give a supinated lat pull down. It really depends on the individual that I'm working with. So I'll customize the program based on the individual and how they're progressing with the program. But I always stick to the compound lifts because I know they work. Okay. So I don't recommend anyone change their routine too much unless, of course, you have hit a plateau. Now, here's the thing. You don't go and do a program for 2 weeks in a row. Let's say you have two chest workouts, say, oh, I hit a plateau, I'm not seeing results. No, my recommendation is you stick with that routine for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So if you're training chest, let's say every Monday, that seems to be like International Chest Day for a lot of people, especially men. And you do that routine for 6 to 8 weeks, and now you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I don't really see much definition in my chest. I've kind of stalled. That would be a time to maybe switch things up. Say you're someone who always starts with an incline barbell press. Maybe you're going to start now with an incline dumbbell press. Maybe you're someone who always does the flat barbell press. Well, maybe this time you're going to start doing some flat dumbbell presses. Maybe you're someone who always does dumbbell flies. Maybe you're going to switch over to cable flies. So switch things up. Don't be afraid to switch things up, but don't switch things up too soon. And it's a big mistake to switch things up just because you're bored. All right. I understand that weight training is not the most interesting sport in the world. I get it. Okay. I've been to bodybuilding shows. Half the time the audience is half empty. I understand. Okay. But if you truly want to transform your physique and you want to sculpt your muscles, you have to stick to a routine that is repetitive. That's why they're called repetitions. Okay. And you have to be consistent. You can't be lackluster with your training. Okay. You have to show up at the gym, get your full workout in, make sure that you recover properly. Goes back to that second question I had. Make sure that you're fueling the body properly with nutrition. And that's how you're going to see and feel the results with your health and your physique. All right. Okay. Nick, what's more important for hypertrophy, load, reps, or tempo? Well, progressive tension over time matters most, right? And I think, I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on that. And what I mean by that is that you want to make sure that time under tension. So what I mean is when you're focusing on an eccentric contraction on a bench press, you're controlling that. And then when you do that concentric contraction on a bench press, you're also controlling that. You're not focused on doing bouncing your reps to try to get to 15 reps. You're not trying to focus on getting PRs every single workout. You're focused on the mind to muscle connection, which in my opinion is best established by following a 1 to 2 tempo speed. All right, which means that you're controlling the weight on both the down phase and the up phase. And a good rule of thumb that I use with my clients is I say for every exercise, I don't know, whatever exercise you're doing, in your head, 1, 2 down, 1, 2 up. If you're squatting, 1, 2 down, 1, 2 up. There's your tempo speed. If you stick with that tempo speed and you're doing good form and good technique, you're going to see results with your physique. You're not going to feel pain in your joints unless you already have an existing injury. You're going to actually stimulate new muscle growth. All right. So this is very important because there's so many people I see in the gym who are chasing reps. I even have clients that are guilty of this. I'll say, okay, I need 15 reps. They're chasing the reps. So what I mean by that is what's happening is they're doing reps as fast as they can because they know they're going to burn out. So they want to get to 15. So what I usually say to people is like, you know what? I want anywhere from 10 to 15 reps, as long as you stay within double digits. And anyone who watches the YouTube channel knows I'm a huge advocate of double digit reps, trying to keep your reps between 10 to 15, only dropping to single digit reps if maybe you're doing a drop set or a triple drop set at the end of a exercise. Okay. I feel that when you're doing that 1, 2 tempo speed, you are keeping that time under tension on the muscle bellies. Okay, so I would argue that tempo is one of the most important things. I know there are some people in the gym that do like to go a little bit slower with like a 3 countdown, and like I have no problem with that either. But I find that for me anyway, and for the people I work with, using that 1, 2 tempo, you are controlling the repetitions. I don't have a problem with fast reps as long as they're controlled. Okay. So as long as you're not bouncing the weight off your chest or you're going down in a squat and bouncing back up again or doing a seated row where you're swinging back and forth, those are ballistic repetitions and you're asking for injury. So I don't recommend doing that. So in order to eliminate the potential of doing ballistic reps, use that 1, 2 tempo speed, 1, 2 up, 1, 2 down, or if you're doing a row, 1, 2 in, 1, 2 out, whatever plane of motion you may be using. In my opinion, you can't go wrong. All right. Okay. Uh, Nick, why does fat loss slow or stop during high stress periods? Well, chronic stress is going to alter your recovery. It's going to impact your hormones and it's going to elevate your cortisol levels. When your cortisol levels are high, your body is almost like in a state of shock. It's like You know, when you're cold and you tense up like this, you're cold, right? Your body does that because it's a defense mechanism and it can't relax. And when your body's cortisol levels are high, it becomes very difficult for your body to lose body fat. It's the same thing I say to people who say to me, I retain a lot of water. I have a lot of women I work with, especially when it's time of the month, they're retaining a lot of fluid, which is actually good, not bad. That's a good thing. That means your hormones are actually balanced. Okay. So it's not a bad thing to retain additional fluid. But if you're someone who retains water just naturally, because there's both men and women who do retain water, the first thing I will say to them, unless they're having a lot of sodium in their diet, but let's say it's someone who's following a clean diet, the sodium levels are in check. Which, by the way, you do need to consume some sodium, so do not eliminate sodium. Your body needs sodium for survival. Okay. But let's say that person says to me, Nick, I'm always retaining water. I don't know why I just constantly retain water. The first thing I say to them, drink more water. And they always look at me like I'm insane. They're like, no, I'm retaining more water. I'm like, yes, I know. You're retaining more water because you're dehydrated. So your body is trying to hold on to that water. The more water you drink, your body's going to let it out. Whether you're peeing it out, whether you're sweating it out, your body is going to relax and let it out. The same concept can be said for fat loss. If you're stressed, your body is going to go into that cold state again, right? It's going to go into its defense mechanism, which is to stall everything, slow everything down, hold on to that fat because the body doesn't know. It's stressed. It doesn't know. Are you going to feed it or is it, where's it going to utilize its energy from? So it needs to hold on to that body fat. And that's why I also tell people when their weight loss stalls, I look at their diet, I'm like, you're not eating enough. And again, people look at me like I'm insane. They're like, what do you mean? I'm trying to lose weight. You're wanting me to eat more? I'm like, yes, because you're under eating. And when you're in a severe caloric deficit, your body will slow down. And as I said earlier, I'm not going to say that the metabolism slows down, but I'm going to say the body as a whole slows down because our bodies are very resilient. They're very intelligent. So when you put the body under stress, the first thing it's going to do, it's going to go into survival mode. 100% it's going to go into survival mode, which is a good thing. But it's a bad thing when you want to see fat loss go, right? When you want to see fat loss, when you want to see muscle building, it's a bad thing. So in order to continuously lose body fat and continuously build solid lean muscle, you have to keep your cortisol levels low. Now, only you can do that, right? If it's an outside factor, let's say it's a work related issue or a relationship issue, that's something that you might have to talk to someone about, okay? But as far as what I deal with people who I know are constantly stressed, and it's usually if it's their diet or if it's their training or a combination of two, poor recovery, that I can troubleshoot with them. Okay. If it's a relationship issue, I'm not your guy. Okay. If it's a work issue, I'm not your guy. But for those things, training, diet, and recovery, what I'll do with people is, okay, you know what? I look at their sleep, for example, and someone tells me I'm only sleeping 4 hours a week or 4 hours a night. 4 hours a week, they'd probably die. But 4 hours a night, your cortisol levels are going to be crazy high. All right. So we got to find a way to get you sleeping more. Now, why are you sleeping 4 hours a night? Are you someone who does like to stay up, like I said earlier, and just binge watch Netflix? In that case, we got to break that habit. Okay. Because your diet's good, your training's good, but your recovery is shit. All right. So we need to make sure that your recovery is better so your cortisol levels can go down. Is it your diet? Are you under eating? That, believe it or not, that is a common culprit I see with new clients when I look at their diet and I'm like, well, no wonder you're not losing weight, you're under eating. So we have to fix that. So we have to give you more food. No, we don't have to give you more bad food. We have to give you more good food. We have to give you more nutrients so your body can relax and utilize that energy to allow you to burn fat again. All right. So the same thing I said with the training. Sometimes people, rarely this happens, but sometimes I get some people who are overtraining. And for those people, I say, okay, we got to take the foot off the gas a little bit. I want you to take 2 days off from the gym. Don't even go to the gym. And I've said this to people before. Like I said, rarely though, because most people undertrain, they don't overtrain. But for those people that do overtrain, that are constantly in the gym, those are the people that I have to tell them, okay, back off a little bit, okay? Because your body is now in a state of constant stress. We need to relax it, go back, feel fresh, you feel great, you recover, and now you're losing fat again, you're building muscle. It's like a burnout for your body. It's the same thing if you were to go to work and you were to work 12 hours a day, every day, never take a day off. Okay. You're going to burn out. You need a break. So your body needs that break. Okay. So if you are someone who is struggling to lose weight, my recommendation to you would be to look at your training, your diet, and your recovery. And if you're someone who's struggling to gain weight, the same thing. I look at your training, your diet, and your recovery. All right. because that's what's going to stall your progress when cortisol levels are high. It works both ways. If you're trying to lose weight, body fat or build muscle, if your cortisol levels are high, you're not going to be able to accomplish either. Okay. Nick, can you build muscle effectively with shorter workouts? Yeah, absolutely. If volume and effort and progression are all aligned, absolutely you can. Okay. So I've always been a huge advocate of shorter workouts myself. My workouts, I've talked about this in the past, uh, they're never longer, ever, than 50 minutes. And that's max. Like usually they're like 40 to 45 minutes. And even when I competed, they were 40, 45 minutes. It was only when I first started working out when I was like 15, my workouts were like 2 or 3 hours because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Okay. But if you're training intensely, you shouldn't want to train longer than 50 minutes. Like the standard workout that we do with our in-house clients are 60-minute sessions, but that's not 60 minutes of constant training. There's 60 minutes, there's warm up, there's cool down, there's breaks in between sets. When I train myself, I just go right in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, like I said, 15 minutes max, maybe on a leg day if I'm feeling a little sluggish. But for me, it's just all out. And I find that works exceptionally well. And it works way better than spending 1, 2 hours in the gym. Really, it does. Like when people tell me they're in the gym for 90 minutes to 2 hours, I'm like, they're not training. They're usually on their phone. They're usually talking to their neighbors. They're not really working out, all right? Because if you're truly working out and you're zoned into your workout, there's no way that you can go more than 60 minutes, in my opinion. Really, there's not, okay? And so I'm not including if someone wants to do, like, say, a 45 to 60-minute resistance training session and then add on some cardiovascular exercise after. That's fine. That's separate, of course. But I'm talking about the weight component. And again, in my opinion, the sweet spot for me is 40 to 50 minutes. And then, like I said, our standard in-house sessions are 45 minutes to an hour, but that's not 45 minutes to an hour of constant training, right? So I find that works really well, especially for people who are natural and not on PEDs. All right. People who are on PEDs, that's a different game. All right. When you're on performance enhancement drugs, yeah, there are some people that could probably train intensely for 2 hours for sure, depending on the dosages you're using. Okay. But for most people, the average person who is not on steroids, 40 to 50 minutes, to me, that's great. 60 minutes is pushing it. I think you can get great workouts from that. I honestly do. All right. Okay. Uh, Two more questions here. Sorry, I lost my spot. Oh, here we go. Okay. Nick, what's the biggest mistake people make when tracking their macros? They focus on perfection rather than focus on consistency. When I look at someone's food log, the one thing I see with people, and I've had people send me their using their food logs, they're using my Fitness Pal, and what I'll see is they're tracking their macros one day, and then the next day everything goes to shit. They have no idea. And what I mean by that is I can look at one of their days, like say they're sending me the 3 day food log. Sunday's a perfect day. Their diet is perfect, right? They measured out everything. They had their portion sizes. They had their macros laid out. Then Monday, everything goes to shit. Like, well, what happened here? Like Sunday was perfect, and now Monday's gone to shit. And then Tuesday comes, and Tuesday's kind of there, but not really there. There's sporadic meals. Maybe there's a latte with a muffin or something thrown in there. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I feel that what people are trying to do is they're trying to chase perfection too much, and they're trying to calculate every little thing to a T. And that again gets hard to do because it's not sustainable. All right. So, what I usually do with my own diet, for example, I have a diet now that I no longer compete that consists of 5 meals a day. That's it. And I love that because when I used to compete, I would eat like 10 to 12 meals a day. God, to this day, I still hate eating. Eating to me is like a job. If I could take like a pill where I would not have to eat ever, I would do it. Okay. But I still, to keep energy and to keep some muscle, I still have some muscle. And in order to keep my energy throughout the day, I still need to eat, right? So I have 5 meals throughout the day. Those 5 meals are all portioned out. I could tell you exactly how much carbs, proteins, and fats I have in each of those meals. Okay. But at the end of the day, let's say it's now 10 o'clock at night. If I'm still hungry, I will allow my body to eat. Okay, I'm not going to say no, no food for you. No, my body, I listen to my body. My body is actually telling me, no, I'm hungry. I'm not eating out of boredom. My body is actually hungry. Maybe I had a heavy leg day that day. Maybe I had an intense work day. Maybe I was 12 hours on the floor and 4 hours online. So I used a lot of energy, right? I burned a lot of energy. So my body's asking me, hey, Nick, I need more energy. Okay, so I feed it. That last meal or last maybe snack, whatever you want to call it, I'm not going to portion it out. I'm not because I portioned out those 5 meals. So I could tell you exactly like how much macros I've had. I've been consistent with that day in, day out. But that last meal or snack, I give myself a little bit of leeway. That doesn't mean that I have a cookie. That means I usually have something that's from my diet. So in my case, it's usually like a bowl of oats with maybe some peanut butter. And that usually works great for me. Rarely do I do this, but every once in a while I'll have that, right? So it's still consistent enough because it's still the foods that's on my plan. All right. So I'm not detouring from the diet too much. The consistency factor is so important. So rather than chase perfection, because now at this point, when I've had that extra snack meal, I couldn't tell you what my daily macros are because I didn't portion out my last meal. But I was consistent on the other 5. All right. And so that's what I try to explain to my clients is don't chase perfection, chase consistency. In your case, if you're someone who really struggles with meal prepping and portioning out your meals, if you even got 3 of your 5 meals, to me, that's a win. Because if you do that for 3 weeks straight, that's a win. All right. Because you're doing better than you were a month ago, right? 70% of your meals are portioned out. You're keeping track of your macronutrients. That's excellent. All right. Even if the other 2 meals are not the cleanest, that's okay because that's something you can work on. But if you're trying too hard to like, okay, every single meal and every single time, and you're someone who doesn't do this, like, yeah, remember, I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's engraved in me, right? This is something I just wake up and do, like brushing my teeth or having a shower. But for the average person, it's very difficult to do. So rather than try to be perfect, just try to be consistent and say, you know what, I don't know exactly how much macros I'm having each day, and that's okay. That's fine. Okay. But if I'm eating 90% of my meals are clean whole food sources. I'm not going to Starbucks and grabbing a muffin. I'm not going to Chipotle's and who knows what you're going to grab there that's going to be like so-called healthy. That's not really healthy. You're cooking all your meals or cooking the majority of your meals or making healthy choices. That's a win. All right. So build off that. Chase the consistency factor and forget about the perfection factor. All right. Okay, last question. Nick, what's one habit that consistently separates your clients who succeed from those who stall? Successful clients adjust rather than overreact when progress stalls. Okay. So, yeah, I can list off that the people who show up every day are going to get results versus the people that don't, or the people that show up on time are going to get better results versus the people that don't. But those are all obvious, right? Yes, you have to show up and you have to work. But let's say you take 2 people who do show up on time, that never miss a workout, that are dialed in their diets. What separates the one that continues to see results versus the one that doesn't? The one that continues to receive or achieve results, I should say, doesn't hit the panic button when progress stalls. The one that doesn't see results or that hits a plateau and can't surpass that plateau is the one that hits the panic button and now tries everything all in one. Drop the calories, do more cardio, train twice a day. Those are people who they're a little neurotic, but those are the people that usually hit a plateau. And then what happens is not only do they hit a plateau, but they become more and more frustrated because they're doing more and more. And it's almost like their body's regressing. Now they're not losing body fat. Hell, now they're losing even muscle, right? They're losing muscle. And now they're burnt out. And now they're not sleeping well. Now they're not recovering well. Now their cortisol levels are high. So the people that hit the panic button are usually the ones that have a problem surpassing plateaus. The ones that stay calm, cool, and collected and say, okay, I've hit a plateau here. I've been stuck at this weight in the gym, for example, if I'm bench pressing 225, but I've been stuck at this weight for 2 months now. I can't get this weight up. Let's troubleshoot here. Okay. Now, if they're working with a coach, it's the coach's job to troubleshoot. But if they're working on their own, these are the people that will say, okay, well, what can I do here? I have to reset my mind here. I don't have to change everything, but maybe I'm going to give this exercise. If this is, let's say you plateaued on a weight that you're trying to do, maybe I'll give this exercise a break and I'll come back to it in a month. I'll still train my chest if it's a bench press, was for example, but I'm not going to do that particular exercise. I'm going to try something else. Is this working? Now I come back after a month and, oh, you know what? I still can't increase my weight. I'm still stuck at that. Okay. Well, maybe it's my diet. Maybe I should look at my diet. Okay. But they do it in a very calm manner. I'm like, okay, well, should I be consuming more carbohydrates? Maybe I should be consuming more fats. Should I add an extra hour of sleep to my daily routine? Right? Whatever it may be. But the people who stay calm and focus more at it from like a strategic perspective as opposed to a panic perspective are the ones that consistently achieve results. And I did this for myself, and I still do this to this day. Whenever I hit a plateau in anything, right, whether it's business or if it's with real estate or with anything in life, right, with my portfolio, my physique, I stop and I look at it from a different perspective. I go, okay, well, let's not panic here. But this is not working. What I'm doing right now is not working. So I'm not going to keep doing the same thing. But I don't have to change everything because I'm kind of happy where I am. And I think most things are working, but maybe it's just one component. And the more experienced you are, in this case with your physique and with dietary nutrition, the better you will become at understanding where you need to make those revisions. Okay, and I talked about this on my coaching segment last week too, about how I know where to make revisions on someone's plan is by feedback from them and their weekly check-ins. Okay, because like I said, if I'm working with someone, the goal is to lose weight and they haven't lost weight in 3 weeks, and I know they're doing everything I'm asking them to do, they're not cheating on their diet, they're showing up to their workouts, they're doing their cardio, I know where to make that revision. Sometimes all I have to do is say, I want you to take 2 days off from the gym and I want you to go and eat whatever you want because the body just needs that break and it works. Okay. Sometimes I need to push them a little bit more, but that's understanding too. Well, that separates a good coach from a bad coach because a good coach, in my opinion, knows when to push and knows when to back off. Okay. But I also think that people aren't born with that. I think that's something that comes with experience. So if you are someone that's a new coach, give yourself some time too and give yourself a break because you still have to learn those things. And you also have to learn with working with different personalities too, right? So, in my opinion, that's what separates the people who consistently achieve results with their health, their physique, and performance in the gym versus those that hit a plateau, panic, and everything goes kaboom. All right. So stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, strategize with your coach. If you're not working with a coach, try your best to strategize on your own and really focus on zone in on what's going wrong here. Okay. But don't change everything. Because when you change everything, in my opinion, that again is going to lead to detrimental results with your health and your physique. Anyway, that is it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday, February the 9th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting my YouTube channel, my online coaching business, as well as my in-house personal training business here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I truly do appreciate all the support and all the feedback that I receive from each and every single one of you. Thank you all again, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.